Hi, my beautiful family. Welcome back to Life-Changing True Stories. Today I bring you a powerful and deeply loving story *, Damien. Cross stared at the email on his screen with the kind of dread usually reserved for hostile takeover attempts. The subject. Line read, Sienna's wedding final head count needed, 3 exclamation points. His sister never used 3 exclamation points unless she was either extremely excited or extremely annoyed. Given that he had been dodging her calls for 2 weeks, he suspected the latter. The office door swung open without a knock, which meant only one person. You look like someone just told you the stock market crashed, Tristan Hayes said, dropping into the leather chair across from Damien's desk. His best friend and business partner had the annoying habit of reading his moods with uncomfortable accuracy. Worse. Sienna wants to know if I'm bringing a +1 to the wedding. Damien pushed back from his desk, running a hand through his dark hair. You know what this means? Tristan's grin was immediate and unhelpful. That your mother has a lineup of eligible women ready to parade past you all weekend? 5 events over 4 days, Damien muttered. The welcome dinner, the rehearsal, the ceremony, the reception, and the farewell brunch. That's 5 opportunities for my family to introduce me to doctors, lawyers, socialites, and whoever else they think would make an appropriate Mrs. Cross. You could just tell them you're not interested. Have you met my mother? Damien stood, walking to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. At 34, he had built Cross Technologies from a college dorm room project into a billion-dollar empire. He had negotiated deals with Fortune 500 companies and faced down venture capitalists without flinching. But Grace Cross, and her unshakable belief that her only son needed to settle down, that was a force of nature no amount of money or success could deflect. So hire someone, Tristan suggested. There are services for this kind of thing, professional dates for events. Damien had considered it. He had even gone so far as to Google it at 2 a.m. 3 days ago, before slamming his laptop shut. The idea felt desperate and dishonest, 2 things he had promised himself he would never be again. But after Nora, he turned away from the window. I'll figure something out. The wedding is in 3 weeks, I'm aware. Tristan studied him for a long moment. This is about her, isn't it? Damien did not need to ask who her was. Nora Bennett had been the kind of love that people wrote songs about, the kind that left marks long after it ended. They had met during his final year of graduate school. Back when Cross Technologies was just an idea and late nights meant ramen noodles and borrowed textbooks, she had been brilliant and driven, studying literature while working 2 jobs to pay tuition. For 8 months, they had been inseparable. Then one morning, she was gone. No note, no explanation, no forwarding address. Just an empty apartment and a disconnected phone number. That had been 9 years ago, and Damien had spent the first 3 of those years trying to find her, to understand why. Eventually, he had stopped looking. The business had taken off, and he had buried himself in work, in success, in anything that did not require him to trust someone with the parts of himself that still ached. When he thought about dark hair and a laugh that sounded like coming home, ancient history, Damien said, but his voice lacked conviction. His phone buzzed. Another message from Sienna. Damien, Theodore Cross. If you don't respond in the next hour, I'm setting you up with Aunt Margaret's podiatrist's daughter and you can't say I didn't warn you. He typed back, I'll have a date. Stop threatening me. The lie came easily. Finding someone to make it true would be harder. The catering company Grace Cross had hired for the wedding was called Seasonal Harvest. According to Sienna, they were worth every penny of their astronomical prices. Damien had been voluntold to attend the final tasting session. Since his mother was at a charity board meeting, someone from the family needed to approve the menu selections. The Seasonal Harvest storefront occupied a converted warehouse in the Arts District, all exposed brick and industrial lighting softened by hanging plants and rustic wooden tables. Damien arrived exactly on time, which meant he was the first one there. Sienna was chronically 15 minutes late to everything except her own court hearings. Mr. Cross. A woman emerged from the kitchen area, wiping her hands on a sage green apron. I'm Jade Porter, one of the sous chefs. We're just finishing the setup. Can I get you some water or coffee while you wait? Water would be great, thanks. Jade disappeared back into the kitchen, and Damien pulled out his phone to answer emails. He had made it through 3 messages when he heard it. A laugh, bright and familiar, carrying from somewhere deeper in the building. His finger froze over the screen. It could not be. The city had 8 million people. The odds were astronomical. "Sorry for the wait," another voice, this one professional and warm. "I'm the head chef, and we'll be taking you through the tasting today. My partner is just grabbing the first course from the kitchen." Damien looked up and felt the air leave his lungs. Nora Bennett stood 3 feet away, holding a leather portfolio. Wearing chef's whites with her hair pulled back in a neat bun, she looked older, more polished, but unmistakably herself. The same dark eyes that had once looked at him like he held all the answers. The same slight scar above her left eyebrow from a childhood bike accident. Her professional smile froze. The portfolio slipped from her fingers, papers scattering across the floor. Damien. His name came out as barely a whisper. Nora. He managed to stand, though his legs felt unsteady. 9 years. 9 years of wondering and anger and eventually acceptance. And here she was in a chef's uniform, about to serve him tiny portions of expensive food. "You two know each other?" Jade appeared with a tray of water glasses, looking between them with open curiosity. "We went to school together," Nora said quickly, bending to gather the scattered papers. Her hands shook slightly. "Long time ago." "Oh, that's nice. Small world." Jade seemed oblivious to the tension crackling through the air. "Should we get started? Your sister said she'd be here by 2? Damien checked his watch. It was 1:45, which meant he had at least 30 minutes alone with the woman who had destroyed him. The universe had a terrible sense of humor. "Actually, could I speak with you for a moment?" He directed the question at Nora. "About some dietary restrictions." It was a transparent excuse, but Jade nodded agreeably. "Sure, I'll get the first course plates ready. Take your time." As soon as Jade disappeared into the kitchen, Damien turned to Nora. Up close, he could see the fine lines at the corners of her eyes, the exhaustion that makeup could not quite hide. She looked successful and tired and heartbreakingly familiar. "What are you doing here?" she asked before he could speak. "My sister's wedding? You're catering it, apparently?" "I didn't know." She gripped the portfolio like a shield. "They booked through our website. I never saw the client names until this week, and cross is common enough that I didn't think anything of it." "You could have called." The words came out harder than he intended. At some point in the last 9 years, her jaw tightened. "You don't understand." "Then explain it to me." He took a step closer, lowering his voice. "You owe me that much, Mr. Cross," Jade's voice called from the kitchen. "We're ready when you are." Nora straightened her shoulders, and he watched her slip into professional mode like armor. "We should do the tasting. Your sister's happiness depends on this going well." She was right, which only made him more frustrated. He gestured toward the kitchen. "After you." They walked in silence, the air between them heavy with everything unsaid. As they entered the testing area where Jade had arranged place settings and sample dishes, Damien made a decision. 3 weeks until the wedding. 3 weeks of planning events that Nora would inevitably be working at. 3 weeks to get answers. And maybe, if he was very lucky or very foolish, 3 weeks to find the perfect +1. He just needed to convince the woman who had broken his heart to be his fake date to a wedding. How hard could it be? The tasting had been torture disguised as culinary excellence. Nora had described each dish with professional precision, while Damien watched her with an intensity that made her hands tremble. Jade had chattered happily about flavor profiles and seasonal ingredients, completely oblivious to the fact that the air between her business partner and their client could have powered a small city with its electric tension. When Sienna finally arrived, breathless and apologetic, she had loved everything. The herb-crusted salmon, the roasted vegetable medley, the delicate lemon tarts. She had signed off on the menu without a single change, which meant Seasonal Harvest would be handling all 5 wedding events, which meant Nora would be seeing Damien Cross at every single one. "You're panicking," Jade observed 3 days later as they prepped for the welcome dinner. They were in the industrial kitchen of the Riverside Hotel, where Sienna had rented out the entire 3rd floor for her wedding guests. "Your knife work gets sloppy when you panic, and you just julienne those carrots like you were angry at them."
Right.
Nora set down her knife. "I'm not panicking. I've remade the vinaigrette twice. Reorganized the garnish station 4 times. And you've been staring at that door like you're expecting someone to burst through it. I'm expecting the refrigerated truck to arrive, which got here 20 minutes ago." Wiped her hands on her apron and leaned against the counter. Talk to me. What happened between you and Damien Cross? Nora had been dreading this conversation. She and Jade had been business partners for 3 years, friends for 5. But there were parts of her past that Nora kept locked away. Damien existed in that locked space, along with all the reasons she had run. We dated in graduate school, she said finally. It ended badly. Badly like he cheated, or badly like you're still in love with him? Nora's silence was answer enough. Jade's eyes widened. Oh, this is so much worse than I thought. Does he know? That I'm still in love with him? God, I hope not. Nora resumed chopping, needing something to do with her hands. It doesn't matter anyway. What we had ended 9 years ago, because... The kitchen door swung open, saving Nora from answering. One of the hotel staff members poked his head in. Ms. Bennett. There's a gentleman here to see you. Says his name is Damien Cross. Jade's expression turned gleeful. Oh, this should be good. I'll handle the prep. You go talk to your definitely dash, not dash, still dash, in dash, love dash, with dash, him ex. Nora wanted to argue, but the staff member was waiting expectantly. She untied her apron and followed him out to the service corridor, where Damien stood looking entirely too good in a charcoal suit. We need to talk, he said without preamble. I'm working. No. This will only take a minute. He glanced at the curious staff member. Privately. Nora led him to a small alcove near the service elevator, crossing her arms defensively. What do you want? I have a proposition. He leaned against the wall, and she hated how her body still responded to his proximity after all these years. I need a date for the wedding events. All of them. She blinked. You want me to find you a date? No. I want you to be my date. The world tilted slightly. That's insane, is it? You'll already be at every event anyway. My family is going to spend the entire weekend trying to set me up with unsuitable women. Showing up with you would solve that problem. He paused. Plus, we could actually talk. Figure out what happened between us. I know what happened. I left. Why? The single word carried 9 years of confusion and hurt. You just disappeared, Nora. No explanation, no goodbye. Do you have any idea what that did to me? She looked away, unable to meet his eyes. I had my reasons. Then share them with me. Come to these events as my date, and we'll talk. Really talk? His voice softened. Please. It was the please that undid her. Damien Cross did not beg. He negotiated, he commanded, he persuaded, but he did not beg. The fact that he was doing so now meant this mattered to him. This is a terrible idea, she said quietly. Probably. Is that a yes? Against every instinct of self-preservation, Nora nodded. One condition. This is just pretend. We're not actually together. Something flickered in his eyes. Disappointment? Relief? Agreed. Just pretend. He extended his hand, and after a moment, she shook it. His palm was warm against hers, familiar and foreign all at once. When he left, Nora stood in the alcove for a long moment. Wondering what she had just agreed to? The welcome dinner was held in the hotel's rooftop garden. String lights creating a canopy of stars above 60 guests. Nora had outdone herself with the menu. Passing hors d'oeuvres that had people asking for recipe cards, but she barely registered the compliments. She was too aware of Damien across the garden. Standing with his parents, Grace Cross was exactly as Nora remembered, elegant, sharpened, and utterly formidable in a navy cocktail dress. Theodore Cross stood beside his wife, distinguished and warm, laughing at something Sienna's fiancé Oliver was saying. Nora had met them once, briefly, 9 years ago, when they had surprised Damien with a visit. They would not remember her. You must be Nora. Grace Cross appeared at her elbow, like a well-dressed ghost. Damien mentioned you would be joining us this evening? As his date, I understand? Nora nearly dropped her clipboard. Mrs. Cross, I didn't see you approach. Years of courtroom training. Never let them see you coming. Grace's smile was knowing. My son has been deliberately single for nearly a decade. The fact that he's bringing someone to his sister's wedding is noteworthy. The fact that it's someone who clearly knows their way around a kitchen is even more interesting. I'm catering the events, actually. This is just a convenient arrangement. Grace sipped her wine. You know, I've always been good at reading people. It's what made me a successful prosecutor before I retired. And right now, You look like someone who's either running toward something or away from it. Which is it? Before Nora could formulate an answer, Damien materialized beside them. Mom, stop interrogating my date. I'm making conversation. There's a difference. But Grace patted her son's cheek affectionately. She's lovely, darling. Try not to mess this up. As Grace glided away, Damien exhaled. I'm sorry about that. She's relentless. She's protective of you. I can't fault her for that. Nora watched Grace rejoin Theodore, who immediately wrapped an arm around her waist. They're still so in love. 42 years and counting. It's disgustingly sweet. Damien followed her gaze. They're what I thought we would be. The confession hung between them, raw and honest. Nora's chest tightened. Damien, dance with me. He held out his hand. There's music, and we're supposed to be convincing everyone we're together. Dancing seems like something couples do. The small band had started playing, and several couples had moved to the designated dance floor. Nora let him lead her there, hyper-aware of every point where their bodies touched. His hand on her waist, her palm against his shoulder, their fingers intertwined. I went to culinary school, she said quietly as they swayed. After I left. It's what I had always wanted to do, but my parents had other plans. They wanted me to go into business, something practical. When I met you, I was trying to please them, studying something I hated. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were building something incredible. Cross Technologies was taking off, and you were so focused, so driven. I didn't want to be the person who said, hey, I know you're chasing your dreams, but mine are completely different and might take me across the country. Damien pulled back slightly to look at her. So you just left? I got accepted to the Culinary Institute. Full scholarship, but I had to start immediately. And I panicked. I thought if I told you, you would try to make me stay, or you would come with me, and either way, one of us would end up resenting the other. Her voice cracked. So I ran. It was cowardly and cruel, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. His jaw worked as he processed this. You should have trusted me. I know. I was 23 and terrified, and I made the wrong choice. She blinked back tears. For what it's worth, I've regretted it every day since. The song ended, but neither of them moved. Around them, other couples continued dancing, laughter and conversation filling the night air. But Nora only saw Damien, his dark eyes searching hers, his expression unreadable. I looked for you, he said finally. For 3 years, I hired investigators, called old friends, checked social media. You had disappeared completely. I changed my name professionally, used my mother's maiden name, Bennett, instead of my father's name. I thought it would be easier to start fresh. What was your name? Before, Nora Castellano. Recognition flickered. The restaurant critic's daughter. I remember your father wrote for the Times. Still does. We're not close. He never approved of cooking as a career. Said I was wasting my potential? You're brilliant. Damien's hand tightened on her waist. What you've built with Seasonal Harvest, the food you create, it's art. The compliment warmed her more than it should. Thank you, Miss Bennett. Jade appeared, looking apologetic. Sorry to interrupt, but we have a situation with the dessert course. Nora stepped back reluctantly. I have to go. I'll find you later, Damien promised. We're not done talking. As she hurried back to the kitchen, Nora's heart raced. She had told him the truth, or at least part of it. But there was still more to explain. Secrets she had kept even from Jade. Secrets that involved why she had really run. And why coming back might be the bravest or most foolish. Things she had ever done. The weekend passed in a blur of events and stolen conversations. The rehearsal dinner where Damien's father, Theodore, cornered her and shared their embarrassing stories about his son's childhood. The morning brunch where Sienna hugged her and whispered, I don't know what's happening between you and my brother, but please don't break his heart again. And through it all, Damien, watching her, talking to her, slowly dismantling the walls she had spent 9 years building. On the morning of the wedding, Nora woke in her hotel room with a sense of impending doom. Today was the day. After tonight's reception, the contract would be fulfilled. She would go back to her life, and Damien would go back to his. And this strange interlude would be over, unless she did something incredibly brave and probably stupid. Her phone buzzed. A text from Damien, meet me on the roof in an hour? Before the chaos starts, she should say no. Should maintain professional boundaries. Should protect what was left of her battered heart. She texted back, "I'll be there." The hotel roof was deserted at 7 in the morning, the city still waking below. Damien stood at the railing, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of amber and rose. He turned when he heard the roof access door open, and Nora's breath caught at the sight of him. Casual in jeans and a white button-down hair, slightly messy, he looked more like the graduate student she had fallen in love with than the billionaire he had become. "Couldn't sleep," he said, by way of greeting, offering her the second coffee cup he had brought. "I thought you might be having the same problem." Wedding day jitters? She accepted the coffee gratefully, wrapping both hands around the warm cup. "Something like that?" He turned back to the skyline. "This has been a strange few weeks, that's one word for it. I keep thinking about what you said. About running because you were scared." He glanced at her. "I get it now. Fear makes us do irrational things. Like asking your ex to be your fake date to your sister's wedding." His laugh was soft. "Exactly like that?" He sobered. "Nora, there's something I need to tell you. About why I agreed to this whole charade." Her heart hammered. "Okay, when you left, it broke something in me. I stopped believing in the possibility of that kind of connection. I built the company, made more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes. Dated women who were perfectly nice and perfectly wrong." He set down his coffee cup. "And then you walked into that tasting room, and it was like 9 years just disappeared. I was 25 again and completely gone for you, Damien, ... Let me finish, please." He turned to face her fully. "I told myself this was about closure, about getting answers and moving on. But the truth is, every moment I've spent with you this week has reminded me why I fell in love with you in the first place. You're brilliant and passionate, and you make me laugh. You challenge me. You see past the money and the success to the person underneath." Nora's eyes burned with unshed tears. "You can't say things like that." "Why not?" "Because I don't deserve them. I hurt you. I ran away instead of fighting for us. You were 23 and scared. I get it." He stepped closer. "But we're not 23 anymore. We're adults who have built lives and careers we're proud of. And maybe, just maybe, we could build something together too. You're asking me to stay? I'm asking you to try. Not fake dating, not pretending. Real. Messy. Complicated. Real." His hand came up to cup her cheek. "I'm asking you to trust that we're both different people now. Better people. People who could make this work." She leaned into his touch, closing her eyes. "I'm terrified." "Me too." His thumb brushed away a tear that had escaped. "But I'd rather be terrified with you than safe without you." The sun crested the horizon fully, bathing them in golden light. Nora opened her eyes and found Damien, watching her with such tenderness that her remaining defenses crumbled. "Okay," she whispered. "Let's try." He kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise. It tasted like second chances and coffee and coming home. When they finally broke apart, both of them were smiling. "We should probably get ready," Nora said reluctantly. "Your sister gets married in 5 hours, and I have a reception to oversee." "About that?" Damien grinned. "I may have hired additional staff to help Jade today. I don't want you to miss the ceremony. You did what? Called in a favor with Ruby Hayes. She's Tristan's wife and happens to run the best event planning company in the city. She's bringing a full team to support seasonal harvest today." Nora shook her head, but she was smiling. "You're impossible. I prefer resourceful. Come on. We have a wedding to get ready for." The ceremony took place in the hotel's grand ballroom, which had been transformed into an elegant garden paradise. White roses and trailing ivy covered every surface. Soft music played from a string quartet, and afternoon sunlight streamed through tall windows. Sienna looked radiant in a simple lace gown. Oliver dashing in his navy suit. Nora sat beside Damien in the third row, his hand wrapped around hers. She watched him watch his sister, saw the love and pride shining in his eyes, and felt her own heart swell. This was what family looked like. This was what love looked like. "You're gathered here today," the officiant began, "to celebrate the union of Sienna and Oliver." As the ceremony progressed, Nora found herself thinking about beginnings and endings, about the choices that led people together and the courage it took to stay. Sienna and Oliver exchanged vows they had written themselves, promising to be partners and best friends. To choose each other every day, even when it was hard. When the officiant pronounced them married, the room erupted in applause. Damien squeezed Nora's hand, and when she looked at him, his eyes held a question. She squeezed back, answering without words. Yes, they would try. They would choose each other. The reception was a masterpiece, though Nora could take only partial credit. Ruby Hayes had indeed brought a full team, allowing Nora to enjoy the evening instead of managing logistics. The food was perfect, the wine flowed freely, and the dance floor filled quickly once the band started playing. May I have this dance? Damien appeared at her elbow during the third song. Properly this time. As your actual date, not your fake one. She let him lead her to the floor, and they moved together like they had never been apart. Around them, other couples swayed and laughed. Theodore and Grace danced nearby, still completely enamored after 4 decades. Sienna and Oliver were lost in their own world, foreheads touching as they turned slowly. I missed this, Nora said softly. I missed you. You have me now. He pulled her closer. For as long as you want me, that might be a very long time. Good, I'm counting on it. They danced through 3 songs before Grace cut in, gently pushing Damien toward Theodore. Let me borrow her for a moment, darling. Grace proved to be an excellent dancer, leading with the same confidence she brought to everything else. You know, I thought I recognized you at the welcome dinner. It took me a while to place where we had met. Nora's stomach dropped. Mrs. Cross.
Yes.
Grace, please. We're past formalities, she smiled. You came to our home once, 9 years ago. Damien was so in love with you he could barely see straight. And then you disappeared, and he was heartbroken for years. I know. I'm sorry. Don't apologize to me. Apologize to him, which I suspect you already have.
How?
Grace's expression softened. I'm not telling you this to make you feel guilty. I'm telling you this so you understand what you mean to him. My son doesn't let people in easily. You hurt him once, and he's still choosing you. That's not nothing. I know, Nora said quietly. I'm choosing him too. For real this time. Good. Grace patted her shoulder. Because if you break his heart again, I'll make you regret it. Retired prosecutor, remember? I know people. Despite the threat, Nora laughed. Understood. Excellent. Now, I believe my son is about to cut in again. He's been glaring at me for the past minute. Grace stepped back gracefully. Welcome to the family, Nora. Officially this time. As Grace rejoined Theodore, Damien reclaimed his place at Nora's side. What did my mother say to you? That she knows people who can make me disappear if I hurt you again. That sounds about right. He wasn't remotely concerned. Should I be worried? No, I'm not going anywhere. She rested her head against his chest, listening to his heartbeat. I'm done running. The evening wore on, toasts were made, cake was cut, and the bouquet was thrown. Jade caught it, to her utter horror and everyone else's amusement. As midnight approached, guests began drifting away, but Damien and Nora remained on the dance floor, swaying to music only they could hear. Come home with me, Damien murmured against her hair. Not tonight, we both need sleep. But tomorrow? Come see my place. Meet Tristan and Ruby properly. Let me take you to brunch. That sounds suspiciously like dating. It's exactly what it is. Pulled back to look at her. I'm all in, Nora. No more pretending. No more games. Just us figuring this out together. She thought about the girl she had been 9 years ago, too scared to fight for what she wanted. And she thought about the woman she was now, who had built a business and a life, and finally learned that running solved nothing. Yes, she said simply, to all of it. Kissed her again, there on the empty dance floor, with the lights dimming and the band packing up. It was a kiss full of promises and possibilities, of second chances and new beginnings. Across the room, Sienna watched them with a knowing smile. Told you this wedding would be magical, she whispered to Oliver. You think they'll be next? Oliver asked, wrapping an arm around his new wife. Oh, definitely. Give them 6 months. Anna leaned into her husband. My brother might be stubborn, but he's not stupid. He's not letting her go again. She was right. 6 months later, in the same hotel ballroom transformed once again into a garden paradise. Damien and Nora would stand where Sienna and Oliver had stood, promising to choose each other every day. Grace would cry. Theodore would give a touching father of a groom speech. And Seasonal Harvest would cater their own wedding with Jade and Ruby handling everything so. Nora could focus on becoming Mrs. Cross. But that night, at Sienna's reception, with the future still unwritten, Damien and Nora simply held each other and swayed. They had found their way back together through fake dates and real feelings, through honest conversations and brave choices. Sometimes love deserved a second chance. Sometimes running away just meant the journey back would be that much sweeter. And sometimes the wedding date you hired turned out to be the person you were meant to marry all along. "I love you," Damien said as the last song ended. I never stopped. "I love you too," Nora replied, and meant it with everything she was. "And I'm not going anywhere. You're stuck with me, promise." Promise. And this time, she kept it. Thank you for taking Fed time to listen to this story. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to share this story with your friends and family, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more meaningful stories. Asterisk.